In the quiet hush of a spring morning, when the garden still carries the chill of winter and your seedlings look a little lost in their beds, there's a simple truth every seasoned hand in the soil eventually stumbles upon. The real magic doesn't come from fancy bottles on the garden center shelf. It brews right in your backyard, inside nothing more than a plain 5-gallon bucket, a few potatoes from the pantry, and a handful of earth scooped from beneath the trees. I remember the first time I tried it, standing there with muddy knees and a heart full of doubt, watching foam rise like fresh bread in the making. By the end of that season, my tomatoes were shoulder high, the roses spilled over the fence in reckless abundance, and the soil felt alive again, soft and sweet, as it hadn't been in years. That bucket became my secret ally, a living factory turning out the very signals plants crave, and it cost me less than the price of a single packet of seed. What we're talking about here is no modern invention dreamed up in a laboratory. It's older than most of our gardens, older even than the tidy rows we plant each spring. Yet somehow it still feels like a fresh discovery every time someone new tries it. Gardeners across the United States and Europe, whether tending a tiny balcony in Berlin or a half-acre plot in the Pacific Northwest, have been quietly passing this knowledge along, bucket by bucket, season by season. It's the kind of thing that makes you wonder why we ever reached for those expensive microbial mixes in the first place. Because once you learn how to coax these tiny helpers into multiplying on their own, the whole game changes. Your soil stops being just dirt and starts behaving like the rich forest floor it was meant to be. Let me walk you through it the way I wish someone had walked me through it years ago, over the fence on a slow afternoon when the bees were humming and the compost needed turning. We'll start with the why, move gently into the how, and finish with the quiet satisfaction of watching your garden wake up. No jargon, no sales pitch, just the honest, earthy details that actually help when you're out there with your hands in the ground. The heart of the matter is remarkably simple. Healthy soil has never been about dumping nutrients from a bag. It's about the invisible community living beneath our feet, the bacteria, fungi, and microscopic partners that have spent millions of years learning to talk to plants in a language made of hormones. These tiny creatures produce the same growth signals that commercial products try to bottle and sell at a premium. Auxins that coax roots to reach deeper, cytokinins that spark new shoots, gibberellins that stretch stems toward the sun, and a whole family of steroidal compounds that help plants stand strong against drought, cold snaps, or the occasional heat wave that catches us all by surprise. When you gather a bit of forest soil and give those microbes a starchy meal and a touch of mineral balance, they don't just survive, they explode into action. The colony doubles every couple of days, turning your bucket into a gentle ferment that smells faintly of earth and fresh rain. Pour a diluted measure around your plants, and you're not feeding them directly. You're handing the job back to the living web that knows how to do it best. I've seen it coax struggling peppers back from the brink in a cool, damp English summer and push zucchini into overdrive during a scorching Midwest July. The difference isn't flashy, it's steady, season-long, and deeply satisfying. This approach traces its modern roots to a time when farmers in South Korea watched their land grow tired under the weight of chemical shortcuts. A man named Cho Han-kyu, working quietly in the 1960s, looked instead to the untouched woods near his village. There, beneath layers of fallen leaves, the earth stayed loose and generous without a single sack of fertilizer. He began collecting the native life from those forest floors and learning how to multiply it safely at home. His son later refined the process into something even simpler, calling it a way for ordinary people to work alongside nature rather than against it. The method spread not through glossy advertising but through word of mouth and open sharing. Farmers in Asia, then smallholders in Africa, and now home gardeners like us in temperate zones from Oregon to the Cotswolds. What strikes me most is how this mirrors older traditions we already knew but somehow forgot. European peasants once steeped willow twigs in water for rooting cuttings, drawing out natural growth hormones without ever naming them. Indigenous gardeners across the Americas buried fish or fermented plant scraps to feed the soil's hidden partners. The Korean bucket method feels like a beautiful bridge, practical, repeatable, and perfectly suited to our small plots. It asks nothing we don't already have close at hand. Now let's get our hands dirty and talk about making your own. You'll need a sturdy plastic bucket, the 5-gallon kind that hardware stores sell for pennies. Metal won't do, it can throw off the gentle chemistry inside. Gather 4 gallons of water that hasn't been treated with chlorine. If your tap water is the only option, set it out overnight or let it sit in the sun so the harsh bits can drift away. Rainwater straight from the barrel is ideal, carrying its own trace minerals that the microbes seem to love. For food, reach for plain potatoes, about a pound, skins and all. Boil them until they soften, then mash them roughly. That starch becomes the feast that lets the colony grow fast and strong. Next comes a couple of tablespoons of plain sea salt or rock salt with its natural minerals intact. It keeps the balance just right, encouraging the helpful types while gently holding back anything unwanted. The real treasure is the starter, 1 to 2 cups of soil from a healthy, undisturbed woodland. Slip on your boots and walk to the nearest patch of deciduous forest. Beech, oak or maple woods work beautifully. Brush aside the fresh leaf litter and dig just a few inches down into the dark, crumbly layer where white fungal threads weave through the earth like lace. That's your inoculant, packed with the very community your garden is longing to meet. If forest soil is hard to reach, rich backyard compost or well-aged worm castings from an established bin can stand in, though the woodland version always feels like it carries an extra spark. Here's the part that takes less time than brewing morning coffee. Slip the mashed potatoes into an old sock or a scrap of cheesecloth and tie it closed. Do the same with the forest soil. Lower both little bundles into your bucket of water, sprinkle in the salt, and give everything a quick stir. Set the bucket in a shady spot where temperatures stay between 60 and 85 degrees, your garage, a north-facing porch, or even under a bench in the garden. Cover it loosely with a lid or cloth so bugs stay out, but air can still move. That's it, 5 minutes, and the rest belongs to the microbes. Within a day, you'll notice bubbles and a creamy foam gathering on top, like the head on a good stout. By the second or third day, the activity is unmistakable. In warmer corners of the American South or Mediterranean Europe, the brew may be ready in 48 hours. Up north in Scotland or Minnesota winters that linger into May, give it an extra day or two. Trust the foam more than the clock. When it looks thick and lively, your solution is humming. Dilute it, 1 part brew to 10 parts water, and use it as a gentle drink for the soil around your plants. I like to apply it every couple of weeks through the growing season, right after a good rain when the ground is soft and receptive. Around young transplants, it encourages roots to settle in fast. On established beds, it keeps the underground conversation flowing. I've used it as a light foliar mist on leafy greens during dry spells, watching the leaves perk up almost overnight. Once you have your first successful batch, the magic really begins. Save half a cup of the finished liquid and use it to start the next bucket. Skip the forest soil entirely now. The microbes carry themselves forward. 1 sack of potatoes can stretch into months of garden care, each new brew as lively as the last. Some gardeners I know add a small handful of uncooked rice for extra variety in the microbial mix. Others borrow an old aquarium pump for the final day, bubbling air through the bucket to shift the balance toward even more vigorous types. In drier climates, a spoonful of molasses can give things an early boost, though I find the basic recipe plenty powerful on its own. The ways this living brew shows up in the garden are as varied as our plots themselves. In my own beds, I've watched pole beans climb faster and set pods earlier after a spring drench. Tomato plants that once sulked in cool nights now shrug off the chill and keep flowering into September. Even the cottage garden flowers, foxgloves, delphiniums, sweet peas, seem to hold their colour longer and resist the usual mildew that creeps in during damp English summers. Fruit trees respond too. A neighbour in northern France swears by it for young apple grafts, dipping the roots before planting and then watering the soil monthly. The new growth is vigorous without being leggy, and the trees settle in as though they'd always belonged there. What I appreciate most is how it works with the rest of a thoughtful garden plan. Pair it with a thick mulch of straw or shredded leaves, and the soil stays moist and cool, giving the microbes a comfortable home. Mix it into your compost tea routine and the whole pile breaks down sweeter and faster. Scatter it around nitrogen fixers like peas and beans, and the whole bed seems to share the bounty. In raised beds that have grown tired after a few seasons of heavy cropping, a regular bucket application brings back the tuck earthy smell and the soft texture that tells you life is returning. Of course, no garden practice is without its gentle limits, and it feels right to speak plainly about them. This brew thrives on organic matter, so if your soil is still mostly sand or heavy clay, you'll want to build the foundation first with generous layers of compost and leaf mold. The microbes need something to eat once they reach your beds. In very cold climates, think Zone 4 or 5 in the northern United States or Highland Scotland, keep the bucket indoors or near the house foundation until nights warm up. Finished solution doesn't store forever. Use it within a couple of weeks or the balance shifts and the pleasant earthy scent turns sour. Make fresh batches as you need them. That rhythm becomes part of the garden calendar, like sowing seeds or turning the compost. Young seedlings just peeking above the soil can be sensitive, so always dilute well and test on a few plants first. I once learnt the hard way that an overly strong splash on tiny basil starts left them looking a bit shocked. A lighter touch the next time brought them right back. And remember the salt. Follow the measure exactly. Too much can upset the delicate chemistry we're trying to nurture. Across the seasons, the rewards compound in ways that still surprise me. Come autumn, after the last harvest is tucked away, I give the empty beds one final watering with the season's last batch. The microbes settle in and begin their quiet winter work, breaking down residues and preparing the ground for spring. By the time the snow melts or the February rains ease, the soil already feels ready. In milder European winters, I've even kept a small bucket going near a south-facing window, feeding the houseplants and starting the earliest sowings with a head start no store-bought product could match. What keeps me coming back year after year is the way this practice quietly rebuilds resilience. Gardens treated this way seem to weather the unexpected better, whether it's a late frost in the Midwest or a prolonged dry spell in southern Spain. The plants grow with a certain quiet confidence, their leaves deeper green, their stems sturdy. Pests still visit, but the balance feels more even. Beneficial insects and birds find plenty to eat among the thriving diversity. The whole plot begins to feel like a small, self-sustaining woodland edge, rather than a collection of separate crops. I think that's the deeper gift. We're not just growing vegetables or flowers anymore, we're restoring a conversation that was happening long before any of us picked up a trowel. The forest floor has been teaching these lessons for eons. We're simply borrowing a cup of that wisdom and inviting it home. And here's the part that still makes me smile. None of this needs to stay hidden behind a brand name or a fancy label. The big companies that sell microbial potions have their place for large-scale farms that require perfect uniformity. But for the rest of us, tending backyard beds, community plots, or windowsill herbs in cities from Chicago to Copenhagen, the bucket offers something more generous. It costs almost nothing, adapts to our local conditions, and grows stronger with each passing season. The knowledge travels freely now, shared in garden clubs and online forums by people who simply want their bit of earth to flourish. So if you've been standing at the edge of your garden this spring, wondering how to bring back that vital spark, consider starting small. 1 bucket, 1 pound of potatoes, 1 quiet walk into the woods. In a few days you'll lift the lid and see life bubbling up, ready to share its gifts. Your plants will notice, the soil will remember. And somewhere between the first foam and the last autumn harvest, you might find yourself leaning on the fence, chatting with a neighbour, and passing the same simple recipe along, just as it was always meant to be shared. The garden has a way of teaching patience, and this practice rewards it tenfold. Each season the soil grows softer, the harvests more abundant, the connection deeper. It's not about shortcuts or miracles, it's about stepping back into the old rhythm, bucket in hand, and letting the smallest creatures do what they've always done best. Your plants will thank you, the bees will notice, and you'll find yourself smiling over a cup of tea, looking out at a garden that feels more alive than ever before because it truly is.